Welcome to the Power of Healing Your Energy show. This is season 3. I'm Christine Gold, spiritual medium, intuitive energy coach, old soul healer, and soul purpose mentor. This show is all about your unconditional love, all about your light, all about your healing, and definitely about your soul's purpose. That's why you're here. And I truly believe that healing begins where the ego ends. This episode 178 welcomes Dr. Sailesh Rao. He is the founder and executive director of Climate Healers. It is a nonprofit dedicated towards healing the Earth's climate, and he's going to talk about how this is going to be a vegan world by 2026. Hello, welcome everyone. Come on in. This is episode 178, and I'm super excited to have my next guest on. You may have heard of Dr. Rao. I mean, he's had over 3 decades of professional experience, and he's really dedicated to healing the climate. And I came across him when I decided to sell everything and leave North America and live in an intentional community called Wisdom House. And that was almost 60 days ago. I am vegan and I am a lover of all sentient beings. And when I heard about Climate Healers and what Dr. Rao was doing and what he continues to do and why, he does what he does, well, I'm just going to bring him on because who really wants to hear me talk? So welcome to the show, Dr. Rao. How are you?
Very good. Thank you, Christine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us, considering you have a big event coming up this weekend, which we will talk about soon. And where, I always ask my guests, I'm in Lima, Peru. Where in the world are you?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, in the United States.
Very
in
nice.
The desert. Yeah.
Very nice. So before I got, you had a title for the show. I, of course, wanted to talk about the cow in the room because, when I heard you mention that, I thought, okay, this is great. Did you want to maybe talk about, the episode really is about how to transition from climate heating to climate healing. You seem to have you're a wordsmith. You have a play on words, or where do you get your inspirations from when you're writing?
I don't know. It just shows up, right? So I'm just a channel for whatever comes out of me. I just to give you some background, I started working on the environment in 2005, in 2006 when I saw Al Gore's presentation on TV, and I was really shocked. I realized that I'm wasting my time working on making the internet 10 times faster, which is what I was doing at that time. And so I decided to focus on this full time. And within, I would say 3 or 4 years, I was one of the most depressed environmentalists on the planet because I thought there was nothing I could do. And it is just careening out of control. So I thought that we are the only species that does not belong on Earth. Every other species just lives and the planet thrives. And we just live and the planet dies. So we look like an ecological mistake, okay, at that point. And this was 2009, 2010 timeframe. And I had gone to this forest in the Western Ghats of India. And I had been observing how animals and insects and plants, how they interact with each other. And I thought that was the most amazing system design ever. To me, nature is the most amazing system design ever. It's perfect in every way, except for us as a species. It looked like we are the only ones that doesn't belong, right? And so I had this thought in my mind, and I was observing this elephant breaking a branches of trees. So the elephant would break branches of trees, eat the leaves, and throw the branch away. Take another branch, break it off, eat the leaves, throw the branch away. So I asked the owner, "Isn't that elephant destroying your forest?" And she said, "No. Everything the elephant does helps the forest." So wherever the elephant broke branches of trees, that's where the sunlight streams to nourish the underbrush. Okay, so nothing in nature is out of place.
Mm.
And I thought, wow, if that's true, who are we? How do we belong? How do we fit in this? And I was thinking about this and um, started doing my research on this. And then my granddaughter was born in 2010. Okay, and I came to see her when she was a month old. And I held her in my arms for the first time. And she looked up at me and she had this knowing smile, as if she was telling me, "What do you mean I don't belong? I belong exactly as I am. See how perfect I am." And I had this sense of perfection, that she belongs exactly as she is, and we all must belong exactly as we are, and that we're not telling the right story. Because as human beings, we tell stories and we play games. And by doing those two things, we coordinate our actions among millions and billions of us. So I thought, okay, when I tell the story that we don't belong in nature, I'm not telling the right story. And so I started looking for that story where we do belong exactly as we are.
Mm.
And that's how I came across this climate heating to climate healing type of formulation. Because we are a species that has done something absolutely amazing. Actually, if you think about it, we have done something amazing. We have heated up the entire planet. Okay, so that the Earth can never go back to another ice age again. And we did that in this warm period because the Earth has gone through over 100 ice ages in the last 3 million years.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, she spawned us as a species. And she gave us all the tools we need to start heating up the Earth. And we spread from Africa and went all over the world. And we started chopping down forests. And we basically heated up the Earth by chopping down forests and raising animals. Okay, raising animals, domesticated animals. So with that, we we heated up the Earth, and now we have heated it beyond where it should be. So we heated it like another extra 1 degree Celsius beyond where it should be. But in the process, we created all the tools and technologies we need to understand that that's what we did. Okay, because now we have the instruments to measure the temperature. We have the instruments to measure the CO2. We have, so we can now know what it is that we are doing. And now we can become conscious as a climate harmonizing species that maintains the body temperature of planet Earth, of Mother Earth. It's like Mother Earth said, "Hey, I've given all of you homeostasis. Like we have homeostasis. Our temperature stays the same no matter where we go." She says, "I want one too." And she created us as a species to help that happen. And I think it's absolutely amazing when you think about it. And I was so astounded when I discovered all these things. But it was there all along, meaning, and as soon as we admit that we have changed the climate of the planet, we've automatically assumed responsibility for harmonizing it because it's
That's a
right
great
in our heart.
statement right there. That's responsibility and freedom at the same time with truth.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's who we are. So then I realized, just like the elephant was doing something good, even though it appeared that she was doing something bad, we were also doing something good, even though it appeared like we were doing something bad. Yeah, so it's just the perspective.
Mm.
And so climate heating was an essential phase that we had to go through to become climate healers. And so now we have to heal the climate and then we have to harmonize it and keep
Mm.
it there forever. So we become like the thermostat species of the planet.
Thermostat. I like that. So
Yeah.
how do we do that?
Well, it is everything we need is already here with us. So we bring back the forests that we cut, and
Hmm.
that will reverse climate change. Okay, so I calculated that if we just bring back the forest that used to be there in 1800, and we can do that if we stop raising animals for food or for any purpose whatsoever. Stop, domesticating and enslaving animals. As soon as we do
Yes.
that, all this land gets freed up. And that land, if we just bring back the original forest, you can literally reverse climate change. So we
Mm-hmm.
can we can heal the climate, bring the temperature back down by 1 degree Celsius, so that the temperature is where it was in 1800, and then our job is to hold it there. And we know how to hold it there. We know how to heat it up. We have been doing a good job of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just greenhouse gases. It's regulating the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. It allows us to heat it. I mean, keep it there. I mean, we have already done a lot of that work because we have burnt all these fossil fuels,
Yes.
and those fossil fuels used to be underground. Now they're all up in the atmosphere. So therefore, it's easy to maintain the temperature there.
Mm. Absolutely. And while you were talking, I heard the frog in the boiling water analogy, but you also have another analogy about the baby in the bathtub water.
Right. Yeah. So the baby in the bathtub analogy is a way to explain how would you solve this problem? How would you solve climate change? So the baby in the bathtub analogy says that the bathtub has 1,000 liters of water, which corresponds to the 1,000 billion tons of CO2 we have added to the atmosphere. And there are two faucets that are pouring water into the bathtub. One is the burning machine faucet, which is from all the fossil fuel burning. That's pouring about 35 liters per minute. And then there is the killing machine faucet, which is from animal agriculture, that's pouring 15 liters per minute into the bathtub. So that's how we are filling up the bathtub. Okay, so 15
Mm-hmm.
liters per minute. So each liter per minute is like 1 gigaton per year. So a minute is like a year, right? In this. So the idea is, how would you shut off these two faucets? Because the faucets are also connected to other things, like because there is this opportunity cost of animal agriculture, which is all the land that's being used for animal agriculture. There is also the opportunity benefit of burning fossil fuels, because when we burn fossil fuels, we're actually also burning a whole bunch of cooling gases. We are sending a whole bunch of cooling gases into the atmosphere called sulfur dioxide and sulfates. And they're cooling the earth by about 1/3 of the heating that we are doing. It's like a benefit we are getting from burning fossil fuels. So that benefit will go away when you stop burning fossil fuels. And you have to take that into account from an engineering perspective. Um, it's like, you need to know that you have to take your foot off the accelerator and then put it on the brake, right? You can't just pump the brake and put your foot on the accelerator at the same time.
You can't drive like my mom did with both feet? Sorry. I couldn't resist.
Right.
Hmm.
So, I mean, this is a whole planet you're talking about, right? So a lot of lives are involved, or are dependent on us doing this thing right. And there is engineering integrity that needs to come into play, where it's all about how do you do these things correctly. So I think of Earth as spaceship Earth, and we have been given some responsibility on spaceship Earth to maintain its climate, to harmonize the climate. And so which means that we have to do this as if we are all in this together.
Hmm.
It's not just all human beings, but all life are in this together. Okay. So, and we are serving the other life forms. We are not like the bosses of those life forms. We are the employees
That's a
who are,
good way of putting it. Absolutely.
yeah, because we are maintaining the temperature and the climate for them, not just for us, for all of
Mm.
them, right? And so
Absolutely.
they're not looking at us saying, you're not doing a good job. So wake up to your climate healing role.
Hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I'm saying hello to everyone who is watching. If you have any questions, shoot. I mean, I get asked questions all the time, like the animal part. They're like, okay, so somebody said to me the other day, so if we stop eating animals, every single one of us, what do we do with the animals then?
Right. Yeah. Well, when you stop eating animals, you won't raise them.
Mm,
So, and that's because these animals don't have their own families, and they're not like deciding to be born. We have human beings with professional titles like cow impregnator. What kind of
yeah.
title is that? I mean, what kind of profession is that? So we need to abolish professions like that. So you don't need a cow impregnator anymore, a pig impregnator, or a chicken impregnator. I mean, we don't need any of those. So then they won't be born.
Mm,
So that's where most of them are coming from. We have factories that produce chickens and send them out to farmers.
yeah. Yeah. I think of the one I tried to watch this documentary and I couldn't do it. It was just
Mm.
too I'm very sensitive, so I'd probably have
Right.
to have yeah, 'cause I just anyways, I'm a huge animal lover, but I was also a hypocrite. I will call myself out. I ate animals. I did
Hmm.
because I was disconnected. But now I think is that a big piece of it as well?
It is a very big piece of it. This is why we call it the cow in the room.
Mm,
Uh, it's like the elephant in the room that people don't want to talk about, the cow in the room that people don't talk about. And it is, we are conditioned to it. We are conditioned not to see things. And we get conditioned from our childhood onward. The
mhm,
reason I know all this is because when my granddaughter was growing up, I basically decided that I was going to do whatever she wanted and not, I mean, not try to impose my will on her, but to learn from her. Because to me, she was very pure. She's like she's coming from a very simple perspective, right? So in the process, I discovered all the conditioning that I had gone through just listening to her.
mm,
And like I was reading her a story, right, from our epics. And in the first chapter of the story itself, there is this king who goes around shooting deer. He's going hunting in the forest. And she stopped me right away and she said, "Why is he shooting that deer? That poor deer was just drinking water in the river." And I said, "Oh, I didn't think about that." She said, "Why are you reading me stories like this? I don't want to hear about this anymore." So that was the end of that story. I put it away. Okay, so I realized that I was read that story as a child.
ah,
And I thought it
wow.
was normal for people to go around shooting animals.
Mhm. Like, I think of
Whatever.
Bambi.
Yeah, it's like we
Yeah.
are not, we get normalized to these things. We are told stories to make us think that this is the way it is. This is the way life is, right? So that's how we get conditioned.
Mm,
And from that sense, we are a very good herd animal, meaning we have a herd of 7 billion, right? 7.8 billion people. We are all one herd, really, because we
mhm.
bought into the same stories. The story of United States, that's a story. The story of countries and national boundaries, those are stories, right? So we buy into these stories because it's being drilled into us as children. And so it's about unconditioning ourselves from those stories and then looking at things afresh and saying, how would you really do this if your job was to, you know, become climate healers from climate heaters?
Yes.
Yeah. And so some of us, I mean, I've been working on climate healers at Climate Healers for 15 years now. So, and to me, it's a process, right? We understand how do we retell stories, tell different stories, and then play different games. Because if you look at all the games we play right now, they're all competitive games,
Yep.
and we figure out who's better than who, and in that game, human beings are the winners in the game, right? We beat all the other species. We are so much more powerful than all of them. And so we think we can do whatever we want with them, right? We can kill them, do whatever we want with them. But if you kill them all off, you're going to die too. So when you realize that, you say, wait a minute, you can't play this game forever. I mean, it's the winning and losing game. At some point, you have to
Mhm.
stop doing that and start playing infinite games.
Yes.
And so infinite games, the purpose of the game is to continue the game as long as possible. Keep going. That's what sustainability is. Sustainability is about playing infinite games. And I
Mm.
discovered this also when I was playing with Kimaya, my granddaughter, because she hated games where there is one ending, one winner. And when she was playing hide and go seek with her dad, and one day her dad did a really good job of hiding, so she couldn't find him. So she came to me crying, and she said, "I don't like this game. From now on, I'm going to tell you where to hide." And that's what she started doing. She would tell me where to hide, and then she would pretend to look for me in other places. Because it wasn't about finding, it was about just playing the game. That's what she
Mm.
enjoyed, just playing the game. And so that's when I started thinking about it. Oh, that's the kind of games we play, right? So if you think about the games we play, like baseball or soccer, there's usually a ball that's made from the skin of an animal.
Mm.
So it shows our domination of animals. Okay. So it's sort of built into us. And then we beat the heck out of that ball. So
Yeah.
that's also our way of saying how powerful we are.
Mm.
And
Oh,
then we
yeah.
see who's more powerful than the other, right?
Mm.
And then there's one winner and the rest are all losers at the end of it. Okay. So that's the kind of game we play. And it's a game, even in our economy, we play games like that.
Oh,
And
boy,
those
do we
games,
ever.
yeah, and those games have only one outcome, which is
Mm.
total annihilation for everyone else and one winner, so to speak, right?
Yep.
And that's not where we want to go. We want to end up in a game that's infinite, where we can thrive forever.
Mhm.
For that, we need to start playing infinite games among ourselves as well. So we need to change the game of baseball, change the game of tennis, or any of those games into something that you can play forever. Like, I mean, I was playing shoots and ladders with Kimaya.
I remember that game.
Yeah, and so she suddenly started saying things like, I mean, I don't want to go to the end and finish. I want to now, instead of climbing up a ladder, I'm going to climb down a ladder. And I'm going to, instead of going down a chute, I'm going to go up a chute. So she was moving around all over the place. And that was the game. It's the play that was more important to her than actually getting to home base, right?
And that's an important thing is we need to play more, and that's something a lot of the work that I do with my clients is inner child
Right.
activations because it was shut down and playing and knowing you're unlimited and law of attraction and all of that because we forgot. We just forgot. That's all.
We get conditioned out of it.
Mhm.
It's always there. It's in our mind still. Okay, it's just that it's buried deep,
Yes.
and we can just unearth it, and we'll get it back right away. It didn't take me too long to figure out that that's what she was trying to do, and then I said, "Oh wow!" And I would love to live like that, uh, playing infinite games where we don't hurt anyone. We are here to heal as opposed to heat. It's
Yes.
a different mindset altogether.
It is. It's not about me, it's about we
Hmm.
and collaboration, co-creation, connection, community.
Right.
2022 is all about that and the relationship with self and then the relationship with others. That's the big component.
Right.
And thank you for doing this work for 15 years. I mean, did you want to talk a little bit about the internet? I mean, you've got a PhD from Stanford in engineering, do you not? I mean,
Yes. I have an engineering degree and I was
mhm.
working on the internet back in the 90s. In fact, I'm connected to this program through a link that I created. So,
Amazing.
and,
Come on, you guys. Like,
yeah,
I think you said you've done harder things. I heard you say that once.
Yeah, I mean, for me that was complicated, and
Mm-hmm.
in the sense it is that was more complicated than what I'm trying to do now. Because what I'm trying to do now is actually fairly simple stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Convincing people to eat plants, plant trees, love all animals, and heal the planet. That's it.
Yeah. You got your notebooks, guys? It is so simple. It's not 22 steps. It was what, 4?
Yeah. Eat plants, plant trees, love
Yes.
animals, and heal the planet.
Perfect. All right, I'm on board. Anybody else? I'd love to have some comments or, send them send them my way. If you have no idea where to start, you can start with this talk and you can start with Dr. Rao and you can start with climate healers. Did you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I went through all of the presentations and let me tell you, I learned so much more
Mm,
than my ego would like to think. So this was a perfect opportunity to really educate yourself because really I was ignorant. I will say that. I was ignorant. I throw myself out there all the time because if I'm going to walk the walk, I better talk the talk. So,
mm.
you want to talk a little bit more about climate healers and the site and what's coming up this weekend as well?
Sure, sure. Yeah. So Climate Healers, I started in 2007,
Mhm.
and the it was a response to um, the training I got from Al Gore, because I went and got trained by him first. Okay.
Mhm.
And I was giving his presentation out to people. And then during the training itself, I asked him about animal agriculture. I said, if you bring back the forest that we cut, can we not reverse climate change? And he immediately turned to Roy Neal, his chief of staff, and he said, "How did this guy get in here?"
Wow.
And it was clear that he didn't want to talk about it. And so then I said, come on, I cannot do that as an engineer. Everything has to be on the table. If you really want to solve a problem, everything has to be on the table. Okay? You can't say, "I won't talk about this, I won't talk about that." No, because that's maybe where the problem is, right? So that's when I started Climate Healers in 2007, as in order to heal the climate, as opposed to figuring out how to make money from it or maintaining it at a high rate of disrepair or whatever it is, whatever other agenda was going on there. So, and then I decided to do a lot of research work first.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I did a lot of practical research work and theoretical research work. I was going through the UN IPCC reports. I went through a lot of the scientific literature, and I also went to the forests of India and the forests of Africa, and I started working there, um, with the women in the villages of India, and they taught me a lot. Okay? And I would say they taught me more than I learned from my research work in papers. But, yeah,
You had
so
hands-on learning.
it's all hands-on learning at that point,
Mhm.
and so that's how, if you look at the website Climate Healers, it's a product of 15 years of research work. Okay, and it's basically systems research work that I did, and I've never really worked on a problem for more than 3 years at a time or 4 years at a time. But this is the first problem where I had to work 15 years to figure this out, to figure out where we are and what to do about it. So, and I'm saying I don't yet know everything, but I have a pretty good idea of how would you address the system. And this is why I said, it's just 4 simple things: eat plants, plant trees, love animals, and heal the planet. And yet, when you go to the UN meetings, I went to UN COP26 in Glasgow,
Mhm.
no one wanted to talk about eat plants, plant trees, love animals, heal the planet. No one wanted to talk about that. That's the cow in the room that everyone is trying to ignore. When you talk about pandemics, the leading cause of pandemics is animal agriculture. And yet no one talks about the cow in the room. Okay, Fauci doesn't talk about it. And yet we are looking for, miracle cures like vaccines.
Mhm.
And yet we are continuing to do this exact same thing that spawned a pandemic in the first place, which means another one is going to come, whether we like it or not. If we keep doing this, you're going to get another one. Okay. So we talk about chronic diseases, and there is also a cow in the room there, because people talk about metformin instead of figuring out how to eat right, so you don't ever get diabetes in the first place. It's because there's a lot of money being made on metformin, just like there's a lot of money being made on vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
and and they also look at all the money that can be made from solar panels and wind power, instead of talking about how do you really heal the climate. So that's the cow in the room. And the cow in the room has to be exposed and addressed
Mm-hmm.
if we are serious about healing the climate, if we are serious about addressing climate change. And I'm saying climate change is something that you don't want to mess around with. Okay. This is not a money making opportunity. Okay? Because if you treat it as a money making opportunity, we are all going to die. It's as simple as that. So it's your mess. You're playing with the climate system of the planet, and there are all kinds of nonlinear feedback loops in that climate system. And as an engineer, I have studied nonlinear feedback systems, and I can assure you, you don't want to go there.
Oh,
Okay,
I
because
I
one,
would agree with that.
you don't want to go there, because I've seen things happen in nonlinear feedback systems that are completely unpredictable, that no one can, I mean, no one knows. Okay. If someone tells you, we know we can do that, we can increase the temperature by another 1 degree Celsius and it'll be fine, they don't know what the heck they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because nonlinear feedback systems are completely unpredictable. And so, Jim Hansen has said that if we keep burning fossil fuels and burn everything off, the Venus syndrome is a dead certainty. And he did his PhD thesis on Venus. So he
Okay.
understands the Venus syndrome. What is
Mm-hmm.
the Venus syndrome? If all the greenhouse gases are in the atmosphere instead of being in the ground, the temperature on Venus is 450 degrees Celsius. 450 degrees Celsius is double the temperature of your oven.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
That wow.
Nothing
Okay.
survives in that. Okay.
No,
So,
no.
yeah. So you don't want to mess around with this. Okay. I mean, we have already triggered a lot of nonlinear feedback loops in the Arctic, with the ice melting away, with the permafrost melting away, methane bubbling up from the permafrost, and so on. And we know that there
Mm-hmm.
is enormous amounts of greenhouse gases there. So I'm saying now is the time to get absolutely serious about healing the climate. And that's what the weekend event is going to be about this weekend. It's called the Vegan Convergence of the Peoples. And this is the eighth convergence of the peoples that's happening, as opposed to the UN Conference of the Parties.
Yes.
It's just also called COP, UN COP. And there they've met 26 times in over 26 years, and they're still not talking about the cow in the room. And that to me is not serious, not taking things seriously enough. And
No.
so,
It,
yeah, this
it's
is why
almost
we are.
like a party. I feel like it's a party.
It is a. I've always wondered what the heck is going through their minds, because they
Mm.
need to understand this too. They probably understand this too, because they have engineers who understand
Mm-hmm.
positive feedback systems. I mean, I'm not the only one who understands these things. So why are they still doing it? And the only thing I can think of is that they're trying to engineer depopulation of the planet or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've
they
heard
think
that
that
too.
they can just say, we didn't do it, nature did it.
Yep. Oops.
Oops. Yeah, it's one of those things. Oops. And I said, no, you are going to bear responsibility if we let this happen. And so I bear responsibility if my granddaughter is hurt. I take full responsibility for that. And I've said to people, if anything hurts, even a single hair on her head,
Mm-hmm.
I will do everything in my power to prevent that from happening.
I totally agree. I'm with you. And it's not just for one generation, it's for
Yeah.
it. you got to think like multiple, many, many, many. And YOLO does not, compute anymore. I'm sorry. There is no more
Yeah.
YOLO. You only live once because guess what? You reincarnate. So, anyways, that's a whole nother discussion. So yes, it's this weekend. You have a ton of guests. All the links are there, and there's you're also giving away a free gift, carbon yoga and carbon dharma. So if anybody would like to be entered to win a copy of carbon dharma, you can comment carbon dharma and or carbon yoga. So you have a chance to win two books, and maybe you win both. I have no idea. So I'm going to leave this contest open for a week, so it gives people a chance to catch up, whether you're watching or you're listening on your favorite podcast. And here is the event poster as well. So I put all the links in there. You have to register. It's through Facebook, the main page, and then you register. But some of the guests, I mean, we have Keynote, the Million Vegan Grandmothers, and the Wisdom Carriers Pledge with Tammy Hay and guests. We also have, I mean, you might know this gentleman, Captain Paul Watson from Sea Shepherd, and he's talking about save our oceans to survive climate change. And then Viga, the cow, and Sailesh, and maybe myself, we are going to be screening Don't Look Up. I mean, who has not seen that? Who has not seen that yet on Netflix? If you haven't, come on over and we'll enjoy it together. There's so many aha and epiphany moments in that movie. I won't even start talking about it yet, but and then I'm going to be hosting a Rainbow Reiki meditation with Viga as well, and it's a global healing Reiki share for everyone, for Mother Earth, for all sentient beings. So I really hope you will be able to join us. All right. I always ask to, and I pretty much I have an idea of the answers, but maybe you'll surprise me. How can we, as a collective energy, help make your dreams come true? I always ask, what's your Moby Dick? What's your big whale? What's something that all of us can do to help you?
Well, you can do something 3 times a day to heal yourself, to heal your body. Eat the right foods. Eat healthy, um, whole plant foods. Okay, and that heals your body. It heals the planet. It heals the animals, and that's the best you can do. Because to me, it's about healing ourselves first. This is the oxygen mask rule, and then we can go out and heal the planet.
Yes, love that. That's again so easy. It's not complicated. It's
Yeah.
not complicated. And this one, what does magic mean to you?
For me, magic is my granddaughter. She's the magic in my life. She came when I was so depressed, and she turned my head around.
Aw, I
Yeah,
love that.
and
That's
yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Any last words?
Yeah, I mean, we are in the greatest transformation in human history. So I'm so glad we are all alive at this time to make this happen. And it's my privilege to be walking with you on this journey.
Mm, couldn't have said it better myself. I absolutely agree. I'm so glad we cross paths. And if you guys are inspired as much as I am, or maybe you're a little bit curious, or maybe it's bringing up a whole bunch of feelings you thought you never felt before, feel free to reach out to us, even out to climate healers. Maybe even sign up and start going through all the documentaries like Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy, What the Health. I mean, there's so many out there. There's really no excuse not to at least have the curiosity of a child's mind and just explore and play, if
Right.
anything. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. And please remember, everyone, healing begins where the ego ends. Take care.